Welcome to Brothers of the Word, because, brother, you need the Word. And today is the 14th of 14 health messages that God commanded me to preach. And several months ago, God commanded me to preach a health message on the first biblical Sunday of each month. Now, as you know, the biblical first Sunday is not the same as our normal Gregorian calendar first Sunday. God has an entirely different calendar than we normally go on. I'm using the Jewish calendar or the biblical calendar. So on the first Sunday of the biblical calendar, I have been commanded to preach a health message. But God said that there were 14 of those messages, and today is the 14th and the final of the health message. And the health message, it is corresponded with our God Heals program. At 7 p.m. every first Sunday, we have God Heals. Now, that's first Sunday on the biblical calendar. So you have to go to godheals.net, and there you will see the schedule, and you have to be inside because the doors are sealed at 7 p.m. So on this 14th message, and 14 is a significant number in the Bible, beginning with the New Testament in the book of Matthew. The book of Matthew begins with the genealogy of Jesus. And when it gets to the 17th verse of that first chapter of the book of Matthew, the Bible basically says that, and from Abraham to David was 14 generations. And from David to the Babylonian captivity was 14 generations. And from the Babylonian captivity to the birth of the Christ was 14 generations. So the Bible divides it, the 42 generations of Jesus, into 14 generations each in that tri-epic. So on this 14th message, and today is October the 10th, 2010. Normally, I do not tell you what day it is because the messages are online and people may listen to this message 25 years from now. So 25 years from now, the day that this is has absolutely no relevance. So normally we don't say what day it is, but today is special because it's October 10th, 2010, or 10-10-10. And so many people have asked me, well, it's going to be 10-10-10. Are you going to do any special message on 10-10-10? Because I've heard some other preachers, and they're saying they're going to be preaching about 10-10-10. So are you going to do anything on 10-10-10? I said, no. God has not said anything to me about 10-10-10. He has given me what to preach on today, and I'm not going to do anything about 10-10-10, or so I thought. And sometimes what we think is not what is really in reality. I wasn't planning on it. But I have learned that God's plans are often way different from what we plan. And I have learned to recognize and to see just signs and symbols in the way that He'll orchestrate things. And He had this last health message orchestrated to be preached on 10-10-10. Well, I know you're saying, well, Pastor, what in the world does 10-10-10 have to do with the 14th health message? I don't see any correlation or any relevance to that whatsoever. Well, I'm going to have to go into a little bit of math here, so you need to try to follow me. We use in our standard numbering system that most of us use every day what's called the decimal base 10 system. Now, I don't know how many of you had any higher level mathematics. But in a base 10 system, basically you got 10 numbers. It goes from 0 up to 9, or a total of 10 numbers. And once it gets to 10, it moves over to the next column. Let me kind of illustrate what I mean. For example, if you take the number 1, 2, 3, you always start with the number on the very right. So if you take the number 1, 2, 3, the first column where the 3 is, it always represents single digits or single units. It represents 1. So in the number 123 or 123, 123, the first column on the very right, 3, represents 3 individual units or 3 ones. Now in a base 10 system, every time you move over 1 column to the left, it multiplies by 10. So if you're taking the number 1, 2, 3, the next column where the 2 is, that's 2, but that means 20 because it's now 2 times 10. If you go over to the next column, that represents, again, a 10-fold increase, and those are hundreds. So if there's a 1 in that column, that means 100, 2 10s, and 3 1s. You understand? Everybody following me clear? And that's called a base 10 number system. That's what we're all used to. That's what we commonly count by, add by, everything. That's what we know, and that's our standard Roman numeral adding and counting number-based system that we use. But that is not the most dominant number system. The most dominant number system right now is a binary system. A binary system is fundamentally the numbering system that computers use. Everything that is digital uses a binary system. Most of our ministry and the largest impact of this ministry is electronic. We go out all over the continent with Mountain Wings and the Power Minute and television and all of this. If you look at all of our ministries and on outreach, every single one of those, except for No Talk, is digital. So the digital system utilizes what's called a binary number system. And instead of 10 numbers, a digital system only has 2 numbers. That's why it's called binary, like bicycle. It's 2. So it only has 2 numbers. And the reason it only has 2 numbers is because in electronics you only have fundamentally 2 electrical states, off and on. 0 represents off, and on is represented by 1. Sometimes in some of your appliances or devices, the switch will have a 0 meaning off and a 1 meaning on. That's binary numbering system. That's computer language. Well, in computer language, when you put the columns up, it's different than it is in our normal everyday decimal language. Our normal language multiplies by a factor of 10 every time you go over a column. In digital language, it doubles. It doesn't go tenfold, it doubles. So in the first column in a binary language, the first column is 1. The second column, if you go over, what's double 1? 2. The third column, if you go over again, what's double? 4. The fourth column, if you go over again, is what? 8. The fifth column, if you go over again, is what? The sixth column, if you go over again, is what? Now, you've seen these numbers a lot of times if you're dealing with computers, or if you buy an MP3 player or a phone, you notice it'll tell you how much memory it has, and it'll be 64 or 128 or 256 or 512. You understand? Or 8 or 4. That's because it is all in binary code and it is all digital. Well, if you take the number 10, 10, 10, and you translate that into digital, let me tell you what it translates to. Now picture in your mind the number 10, 10, 10, and starting over on the very right column is a 0. So that is the single digit number. That's how many if it's 0. Anything times 0 is what? Nothing from nothing leaves what? Yeah, if it's 0, it's 0. So 0, that's why people, you can't run around with nothing. See, I don't care if you got $1 billion and you multiply it by nothing, you got what? So nothing from nothing leaves nothing. So in 10, 10, 10, in the very right corner is 0. Now when you move to the next column over, remember that's double. So what is that? 2. Remember, the first one is 1, first column is 1, next column is 2. So if you got a 1 in there, it can only be that number, that's it, because it can't go to 2. It only goes 1. It's either 0 or 1. So if you have a number that says 10 in binary code, 0 is in the first right-hand corner, the next column over is 1. What does that number equal? 2. 0, 1 in binary code equals the number 2. Now, when you go over to the third column, what's in that column? 0. Remember 10, 10, 10. Keep 10, 10, 10 in your mind. What's in the third column? 0. Now, what does that equal? 0. Amen. You got that. All right. So the third column, first column is 1, second column is 2, third column is double that, which is 4. There's nothing in the third column. The fourth column of 10, 10, 10, what's in it? 1. Now, what does that mean that equals? What's the third column? No, the third column is 8. Exactly, the third column is 8. So if you have the number 10, 10 in binary code, we know the 0 is 0, the 1 is a 2, the third number is 0, and the fourth number is 8. So in binary numbering system, 10, 10 equals the number what? 8 plus 2 equals 10. All right, so in binary code, and I know you're not used to thinking, if you were a computer programmer, this would be very simple, but you're not used to thinking in terms of binary numbering systems. All right, but we're not dealing with 10, 10, we're dealing with what? 10, 10, 10. Now, when you go to that third 10, first 0 is 0. The next 1 equals 2. The next 0 is 0. The next 1 equals 8. Now, the next column to the left of the 8 equals what? Remember, it's double. So what is that? 16, but there's what in it, or what? It's a 0. So what does that equal? 0. So in the 16 column, there's nothing. But in the column to the left of the 16, you double the 16, that equals what? 32. So you have 2 plus 8 plus 32 equals what? 10, 10, 10 equals 42 in electronic language. That sent a chill through me when I saw that. 10, 10, 10 equals 42 in computer language. In the language that we reach the world in. 10, 10, 10, the last health message of the last series, God had me preach on this day, knowing good and well for those who could interpret it. Now see, this is how this biblical, it takes some sense to interpret that. Do you understand that? See, the average man, 10, 10, 10, and you say, what's that in digital language? What's digital language? See, you have to have some sense to even interpret it. But 10, 10, 10 in binary or computer or digital electronic language equals 42. The last health message of the series, and God is telling you, do 42.
Hallelujah. Brothers of the word, when the voice of God is heard, brothers of the word, there's a word from God for everyone. Brothers of the word, because brother, you need the word. Brother,